My name is Rhapsody, his name is sneakyteak, and welcome back to the Ladder Streak for another week. How's it going, bud?
Eek.
Eek! You seen a mouse? You're in a children's picture book and you've seen a mouse?
That's right. Defect. It's kind of a robotic mouse. I was just trying to keep the rhyme going. I felt like we had quite the nice little fable we were constructing.
We totally did. I just had to try and find the context in which someone would utter eek outside of a 1980s picture book.
You know, I do kind of feel the same way. Truth be told, this is the scariest class, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Great class, very powerful class, consistent class, but also some of the most challenging micro turn-to-turn play of any class. Very, very complex decks. And so to a certain extent, it is a bit of an eek experience. I have just seen something which moderately frightens me, and that's the Ascension number climbing and defect presenting themselves. So, but challenge is good. It's an eek of excitement.
I mean, that is definitely fair to say. We were talking about off camera the fatigue levels that we're bringing into this. I have done nothing except for this today, so I am coming in with a full tank. We're going to be a while away from fumes, which is going to be good because, whew, this class can burn my brains trying to do this on other days.
You need to bring a whole tank in. It's a complete journey. Like you're going to be coming up on sputtering into that last stop in the desert when you get to the heart for sure.
Well, I'm hoping that it's going to be hard right up until the end of floor 2, by which point we will have such a solid game plan that everything else is fine. That's my hope, because I have a full tank, but I don't know how long a full tank lasts me. I don't know if I get good mileage.
Just will Pandora's box into the world. I mean, there are answers. There are ways to spin brightly and quickly.
I mean,
you want to burn like jet fuel.
We can will it into existence right now.
There are actual other good options here too, though, which is if the other options that I saw were just unappealing, then I would almost not look at the map. I do think that Defect can boss swap pretty well, because Defect's starting relic gives their dual cast power and a bit more strength in fights, and so does a fourth energy, and so does extra cards, and so does, right? It's like, it's more replaceable as a mechanic. You have to change your play style, but they take boss swaps pretty well.
Yeah, and sometimes it helps support other builds, like for instance, if you have Loop and Dark, or Loop and Frost as part of your defense.
Totally. But Common Relic is a very low variance and pretty moderate to high power start. And what I think a lot of new players don't recognize is that relics are not better based on their rarity. They just tend to be more mechanically complex based on their rarity. And actually, some of the best consistent relics in the game are in the common pool. So that's a good option. 7 max HP for a rare relic, though, is cool, because while rare relics are not necessarily stronger, some of the best defensive relics in the game are there. And starting a run with something like Fossilized Helix absolutely can enable some strong elite play in the beginning. So we have, I think, 3 very real choices here. Choose a colorless card is not one I almost ever take, because that colorless card will not be rare. And so I think it loses a lot of value. But the other 3 I take fairly frequently. So what does our map tell us?
The map is very, very sad. We have a maximum of 2 elites, 1 rest, if we want like the busiest path we can get. Oh, sorry, 2 elites, 2 rests if we take the one on the left.
Yeah, okay. And we get a store on that line, so it's not atrocious. No upgrade before the first fight, but that's a takeable line.
Yeah, I'm more on board with that, although I do kind of want the extra question mark afterwards rather than the extra fight, but that'll be the decision to make at that time.
Sure.
I gotta be honest, like, because we're not losing any current HP, especially, like, it's a small factor, but it pushes me a little bit more towards the rare.
Yeah, do it up. I think that's a real change when you take that Ascension. That's strong. That's one of the strongest relics in the game.
Oh, it's so big. Give me equilibrium.
Yeah. I think that Pocket Watch's strongest start is with Ironclad, and that Defect is a class to where it is at least decently likely to fall off, and also it is still awesome. Like we will feel it. We've already seen it. We just had an 8-card hand. It's obscene, right? It's like people. I think something that I've heard when I've streamed before is, how good is Pocket Watch really? Like, you have to limit your card play, and it draws you 3 cards. What if you only get it 1 time per fight? Is Centennial Puzzle good? 1 time per fight is great. More times is gravy.
I mean, not only that, but also you don't have to limit your play with all of the decks.
Yeah. Some decks you just play 3 really dense cards and then you're done and you get 8 cards every turn.
Mhm.
And my favorite decks are the decks that dance. Play 3 cards and then play a bunch, and then play 3 cards and play a bunch. Those are really, really fun.
I know that you are keen on things like the overclock, your zero costs with your status.
Overclock is the 1/0 cost that I don't take very often. 'Cause you do feel the burn.
Okay,
More
so
than the
I
void,
think you'll
more
have
than the
no
void.
problem with this, right? That I'm
Yeah,
about
I think
to.
the cool head
okay,
is great. Yeah.
Good.
Overclock is very takeable, but the burn is a big downside because it makes your consecutive draws worse and worse.
Mhm.
Whereas like void, you can usually just suffer. Is my finding.
Do you often end up taking recursion in any of your builds?
Gosh. So when the card is great, it's great. You know what? Let me amend that. When the card is the thing that you need, the card is the thing that you need. Because sometimes you've got a few bits of orb generation and you need ways to kind of cycle, or you're babysitting a dark. Those are the 2 times, right?
Yep.
And you're not finding some other way to do that, so you take the recursion, and if it's free, you can cycle it. It's a card that's really a lot more exciting when it's free, and then when it's free, it's not helping us with the pocket watch, and then we want to be drawing it, and I just find that it's like kind of awkward. And I'm not usually picking it until Act 2 when I know that it's doing something substantial for me. And it gets better with things like Hologram when you can then be more purposeful with what you're recursing, right?
Yeah.
So it gets enabled by other cards, and by the time it's enabled, I usually find that the deck is just fine anyway. But I've had runs where recursion was obscene. Like cycling dark orbs is the really cool circumstance.
See, I think that's what I'm lacking. I think I'm lacking the run where I've seen recursion do something that I wasn't otherwise capable of doing better.
Yeah, it's a very specific damage pattern, I think. Or like you don't quite have enough frost orbs and quite enough block, but you are blocking with frost orbs. That's a way to use recursion. But I need dark to do damage, but I also need it to do sustained damage against bosses, and I'm blocking with block cards is the time when it's most consistent, and that's not a lot of runs, but it's some.
It might have actually come to think of it, because I've had a couple of dark runs that specifically died to the collector. It might have been what that needed.
That's a great situation for recursion, because every time you're recursing, you're clearing a spawn until you're just killing the collector. That's absolutely a good time for a recursion, I think. It's tricky though, you know. It's hard. It's hard to know when to take it.
Speaking of frost orbs, this is a digression to about 2 sentences ago at this point. But what do you feel about picking up the rebound and card removing a either strike or defend? Defend would be the idea is recurse the cool-headed more consistently. Strike would just be your mega upgrade a strike by making it a rebound.
I feel really excellent about this rebound. And the reason is it's a card that says strike plus, which we want because it's the beginning of the run and we're trying to fight elites. It's also a card that gives us deck manipulation, and we already have pocket watch. We can draw through almost our entire deck every turn and play the same card every turn. Anything we pick up gets so much more saturated, so I think it's really good. If you pick up a darkness here and upgrade it, you can play it almost every turn.
Really I would be super on board. I have not had like a full, like, not full, but, you know, large, heavy darkness build in a very long time.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of other cards, like even just a ball lightning getting rebounded is solid, right?
So, do you also want to go with the card removal, or do you want to hold the money?
I'm down to remove. And because Defect's common pool is strong enough that I think we can get away with removing a strike.
Oh, I thought you were about to say Defect's common pool is strong enough in defense that we can get away with removing a defend.
No, actually, I think that with the pocket watch already and with the cracked core still online, the rate that we get to dual cast, we're quite strong. And I want to be able to pick up cards like Cold Snap and Ball Lightning pretty aggressively. And the defense help to make sure that we have the defense on turn 1 where we're not hemorrhaging, especially going into a elite before a fire, right? So totally I know it's very jarring when sneaky remove every defend from my deck Teak says let's remove a strike, but there are times. There's a time and place for everything, Ash.
And unfortunately, riding that that bicycle right here and right now is not it.
That's right. Get that out of my house. I just watched the floor. There's the darkness. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it. Oh, this is gonna be so good. We are like very set up just between the as you were mentioning before, Pocket Watch and Darkness for kind of the first floor. I want to find our defensive kit right now.
Yeah. I am not one to make a tier list, but if I were to take non-boss relics and, you know, line them up in such a way that one might imagine that I've arranged them in terms of their theoretical power in a vacuum, that Pocket Watch would be near the front of the line. It's very good. Just in general, you can almost, especially early, you know, you're just going to get so much consistency.
Oh, definitely. Like almost any...
Consume goes straight in the deck. Early source of focus. It's a 2-cost. Plays nice with Pocket Watch. We're going to see it whenever we need it. And it doesn't water down the deck too much because of the draw. And we've got a Darkness that we might be babysitting. Plays into the loop. I am very excited about that pickup.
Very, very keen to see where this build goes. The next thing that I'm looking at the entire time, I'm like, I'm already panicked of, are we going to get enough defense to keep this deck alive while it does this stuff?
Yes, and here's what we do. So here's the thing I think that a lot of people miss, even very good players, about Defect, is Defect is actually pretty competent at blocking with block cards. And that means we need to take lots of fights to find them, but Defect has some pretty solid block cards, especially if you upgrade them. So I think we're okay. So I really still like this Static Discharge. And
really?
here's the reason. It is in many ways it allows the rest of our build to stay focused while it's a little weaker and coming online. Static Discharge is such a strong single card solution to a few really important fights. It lets us, talking about block, it lets us use 1 or 2 Frost Orbs to like double block against Book of Stabbing, especially with Consume. It's incredible against the Heart later on. A lot of key bosses are multi-hitting. And so if we're slow to get a really powerful block build or scaling build online with our other cards, we just have this one card to help us. And Pocket Watch lets us take more sideboardy style cards. Right? So I really like it. I really do. Its only downside is it kind of like really desires to be upgraded, right?
Yeah, and I don't know, like, because we've got Consume and Darkness.
Yep.
Like, we've got a fairly large amount of upgrade.
True.
I mean, Cool-Headed also wants to be draw positive with this upgrade as well.
It's true. But look at all that optionality. In many ways, I think that's the power. The power of Pocket Watch early game is dual. It's not only that it makes you so much more consistent, it is also that it lets you fit more stuff into the deck before you know exactly what you want to do. So I like it a lot.
I like that as a way of looking at it. I hadn't thought about that before, personally.
Yeah. Excessive card draw as a way to be a little sloppier, in a way. Yeah.
Or
Plus,
specifically just to have access to a larger sideboard.
Yep. Yeah. You mathing out these turns. Dig it.
Yeah, just trying to make sure that we take as little damage as we possibly can here.
Because where we are right now, with it, we can take an upgrade. Where we are right now, we can roll into the next fight. So Charge Battery is a great example of a block card that could allow us to block Sand's Crazy Frost. Because it upgrades to 10. That's pretty efficient, and it's cycling energy. And it actually plays nicely with Pocket Watch, which seems weird, but the reason is the turn that you play it, you play 3 cards. And then the next turn, you have 8 cards to look at with extra energy.
Yep. Totally agreed, entirely on board. This is one of the cards that I was talking about when I was saying the Defects base block set is quite good. Obviously, this leap
is awesome.
Leap when you need it, when it is like you are using your block cards as a way to provide your block. But then on the entire opposite end, you have your cool-headed Cold Snap of being when you're not doing that.
The curveball that I throw is the non-fraud. I like it. I like it. Yeah, I like it because it's going to be great and laggable, and it'll be fine against Tri-Sentries, especially before Ascension 18, where they start to add more days. Static Discharge is also a consideration. No, we're just Rebound Darkness. Cool-headed Rebound Darkness, right? I like that. Or is it just Defend Rebound Darkness?
But are we just going to get hit 2 times next turn? 1 time next turn, almost certainly.
And just like push with Static Discharge value?
Yeah.
Or are you saying, I see what you're saying. I mean, we're taking, I think what really boils down to we're taking between 8 and 5 damage on this turn. And we're probably taking 10 or 15 damage next turn. How do we finish from there without taking more?
Without taking more. Got it.
Yeah. Because I think 20, even 25 is very fair cost for this elite fight.
Totally fair. I also realized shortly afterwards that we were going to be triggering the pocket watch and we were actually going to get a full draw anyway.
Yeah. Do you want to just
Trip defend?
D?
Yeah.
Darkness defend?
Ooh.
Because then we're really closing. I mean, like, the fight is done.
Sure. Let's solve it. Take 8 damage on the first 2 turns and then no damage for the rest of them.
That's the idea. Fingies crossed. Woo!
Okay,
Nice.
So, cool-headed, we strike you, then dual cast.
That is a sick turn. Very cool.
Whew. All right,
Nice.
do we have any guaranteed... Okay, we don't have any guaranteed shops upcoming for the meal ticket,
Yeah.
but it is nice to have a little bit of upkeep.
Oh gosh, I'm so happy to pick up any sustain. It's one of the biggest changes that happened last year in terms of making the game more consistent and enjoyable is the breadth of sustain cards that were, or sustain relics that were added.
Mm-hmm.
And there's even more region for us.
It's nice to have, frankly.
And meal ticket used to not trigger when you got a shop in a question mark slot, which felt really brutal. And now it does, which feels really good.
Yeah, I weirdly, I just don't know if I noticed that at the time.
Well, I think at that point, people just weren't taking it.
Yeah.
Because I also think, did meal ticket used to be a shop?
It was a
relic?
shop. Yeah, okay, that's why. Because I would never take it
You
because
had
I was
to
like,
buy
I'm
it
in a shop right now. What,
Yeah.
Why don't I
Yep,
just buy a
yep.
potion?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want any of this, personally.
I do take the rip and tear sometimes, but I think our deck is good enough that I think we're fine.
So do we go for the 1 extra card look or teak?
I
Extra
mean,
question
I
mark.
would probably take the fight, especially considering where our rare offset is, because we haven't seen any rare cards.
All right.
Wow, nice. Nice. All the sustain we could have ever asked.
Love some great upkeep like that. Oh, these are the turns that I don't want. I just want anchor. Just give me anchor so that I can set up a little faster with this deck, please.
Agreed. It's funny how, you've got Pocket Watch already. How could you want more card draw? And yet, perennially with Pocket Watch, I want Bag of Prep. Because I'm like, all of my other turns are... Why does Rhapsody get to have such nice turns? My turn is only 5 cards. There's another way to block really well without Frost.
So we're just like taking this snap, right?
Yeah. Are you prepared, though? Because our run just did get a lot more precise.
Yep.
I'm ready. I'm mentally ready for this.
I'm totally on board. I had a coffee.
12 them to 12 them. All right, a zap. Neat.
Ooh. I might still. Ooh.
It's fine.
No.
It could be 10 max HP. I don't think we want that.
Dang it. Almost managed to get a flash of steel there.
I think Flash of Steel this might be the 1K store Flash of Steel is actually what you don't want.
Because of the pocket watch?
Because of the Pocket Watch and we don't have anything else to support it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're not really into FTLs and Flash of Steels right now.
Not necessarily, but I could see how the deck could still end up like growing past the point here.
So what are you thinking? What are you thinking?
I do really like getting genetic algorithms upgrade online. Like it's 50% extra block every time you play it. I don't know if we're having difficulty yet against the Guardian, especially with the regen pocket in hand, as well as the extra regen we're going to get from the Eternal Feather before we enter. I think it's not too difficult for us to set up a kill against the Collector already. Collector, so
Yeah.
I mean, I've just got the Collector on the mind.
You're
the Guardian.
You're going straight to Act 2. Funny.
So I think we can afford to take the hit on our power level at the moment in order to get the upgrade on the genetic algorithm. How about yourself?
Here's my counter pitch. So at this stage of the act, knowing that there is at least a decent chance that we're moving towards a build that gets the primary block from not Frost. And we do have a Frost source and we could take loop and stuff. I'm really, really hoping to get energy online. So I start asking myself, what energy relics can I take, and what do I need to do to enable those energy relics? If I were to take Fusion Hammer at the end of this act, what would be the cards that I really, really want to be upgraded before we go out? And the cards are Consume and Static Discharge. And so I think I upgrade Consume here always, but that's at least flavored in part by my experience that a genetic algorithm that I pick up in Act 1 is going to be at least in the 40s or 50s as long as we prioritize fights appropriately. And so I've just not found it to be difficult to scale it to the point to where it's really impactful. But if we took that upgrade, we could afford to be more picky with fights, and we will be sure that it's very, very big by the time we get to end game. So I don't think that it's wrong. My finding has been that I can take genetic algorithm even as late as partway through Act 2 and still get it online. So having picked it up in Act 1, I'm confident that it'll grow. Whereas Consume really wants to be upgraded while we can.
See, that's interesting because I think my metric for that is just shifted in a way that makes me value the upgrade for it more, because I won't take it in Act 2 unless it's like the first room in Act 2. Get that heck out of here. I'm now looking for cards that say a larger block number on them individually.
The latest I've ever taken a genetic was, I think, 3 or 4 floors into Act 3, and it played a substantial role in beating the heart. So it's really strong. But you have to prioritize fights, and you have to play it.
It is worth noting, like the first thing you mentioned of it'll hit the 40s, 50s, it'll scale to that point regardless, kind of. That is something that I also don't think about, though, because I usually assess it in terms of how quickly is this going to be a viable block card for me, rather than at what point is this going to stop giving. At what point does this hit diminishing returns, rather? I think.
Yeah.
And I don't consider
for
that.
A couple fights, right? It's worse than a defend for the next 2 fights. And that's totally fair. And we can always hope for Echo Form.
Oh yeah, it's happening. We have to call our shots. We've learned over the course of this series.
That's right.
Not only do we have to call our shots, but we can.
I was gonna say, do we ever use regen potion here?
Right, because of the possibility of getting a potion out of this fight.
That, and also it'll probably take like 3 turns, and then I think we've healed enough that we can get away with upgrading, and it puts us at a health point to where we can take that event to upgrade cards. There's a lot of reasons to have a slightly higher health pool coming out of this fight. We can probably still get value out of it playing it now. We might only get a couple turns, but we can take another fight too.
Yeah, I was thinking, what if, like, I was kind of assuming we were just going to be taking the extra fight already, to be entirely honest with you. But I was also assuming that we would be using the regen potion in the boss fight because it's guaranteed to get its full value worth of turns out. I guess, but unless we, leave the Guardian standing up on turn 2 and have an awful time. But I think the Pocket Watch is going to give us the ability to kind of counter that.
And Swift Potion there, it might be worth more health than regen anyway. I would be inclined to pop that potion here, and even if we waste 1 or 3 health out of it, getting the 12 online is really, really solid and enabling our next 2 floors.
Fair. I like it.
And maybe it lets us play that genetic, Yeah,
I think it's very important that we get that out. This is it's just always in looter fights. I try and avoid playing my potions because I'm like, this fight's ending soon, but
we want to set up to guarantee that we win next turn without winning this turn. That's the key.
There we go.
And then we press E because we want the regen.
That doesn't happen,
we go
though.
After orbs. Oh, yeah. Hey, I'll take the 9. Wow. So I'm going to be honest. I think this genetic algorithm is better than the defrag here.
Perfect. I was worried I was going to have to sell you on it.
No. I think one Consume. What the genetic algorithms let us do is they let us very efficiently block while setting up Dark Orb. It's like very, very strong. You looking at that block pot? Yeah, me too.
That one just has to go out. Oh, hell yeah!
Nice. I'm not mad.
Gotta love a good full block.
I'm really happy with the efficient use of potions here, because even a couple thousand hours into playing this game, potion use is way harder, I think, than people realize. And I still find myself underplaying potions sometimes, holding them for the really spooky fight. That's why we took fights. There's rare offset coming into play.
I mean, it's especially important to note at this point, for the people who aren't familiar with the mechanic, Echo Form will double upgrade the genetic algorithm if it is played first on the turn. It didn't used to, but it does now.
Oh, did it really not at some point?
There was a period of time where Echo Form would not double increment things because it would make a copy of the thing and it would increment the copy.
Yes.
But then the copy disappears.
Which is consistent actually with some other stuff, right? Like, I seem to recall that if you Nightmare Ritual Dagger, both of them are not the original or something strange. Something very weird happens with some other quote-unquote doubling mechanics.
Yes, but those doubling mechanics, as I understand it, if I'm thinking about the right subset of them, create an additional copy of the one that you're currently doing. Yeah. Whereas Echo Form is supposed to be the card that you are playing is just played twice.
Yeah, yeah. The first card you play is played twice, is what it says, but it's really tricky, right? Oh, Static Discharge is great in this fight, too. Yeah, nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, what all do we need to do to set up to, like, be really, really confident that we win? I think it's literally just looping Darkness, right?
Yeah, but I like reboot to put the Darkness back into the draw pile and then just underplay a hand so we get the Darkness off.
Yes, I really like that. I really like that. Zap one time, I guess.
Yep.
We can bail out with Swift Pot if the draw is atrocious.
So rebound dual cost is 18, 27, 6 as well as 33. That's literally exactly. We just don't play the genetic algorithm and don't get the Static Discharge online.
But then we're probably
Oh wait, we get 3 more from the lightning. So yeah, we're over easily.
Okay. I think that's okay, and it's 3 cards, so we're cycling the deck. So we'll get back to this stuff so quickly.
Awesome.
I feel like by the end of this night, I will have said, "Wow, Pocket Watch is so strong, so many times." I'm gonna dream about it. I'm gonna dream about it. I'm gonna sleep it and I'm gonna dream it. Do you ever like just play Echo Form here? Take 10. Honestly.
It will get the Echo Form online before we play any of the genetic algorithms. I like that.
And it means that we're much better at full blocking turns. Especially if we're willing to break our Pocket Watch now and then. It ends up paying for itself in block, I think, really quickly. Like here, we can double the 5 genetic and then play a defend, and we're there.
And just hold. Go for the extra cycle again. Like, it's worth noting, especially here early on, the increased cycle, sometimes you don't even care about playing a strike, right?
Yeah.
Like, the damage that a strike would deal compared to the amount of damage that I'm going to get on this Dark Orb and dual cast for is insignificant. So shorting myself that card has not affected the way that I'm playing, and I'm still getting 3 extra draw.
Where did we learn this very recently? We learned very recently that drawing a card is so valuable that you skip Tungsten Rod for it sometimes, right? So drawing a card must be so valuable that you skip playing a strike sometimes. The value of that one card just like far outpaces those other conditions, I think. Totally agree. And it feels fun too. You know, I hear a lot of people say about, say, Writhing Mass or Time Eater that it can feel unfun to have a game mechanic that asks you to not play the thing. But I actually think it's very strategically gratifying to be in a position where you're like, wow, I made the choice there to not play this strike, to not do 6 damage this turn, to have such a better turn next turn. I think that that's a really cool moment strategically.
Yeah. It's especially as we get like high impact, high cost cards in the deck, like Echo Form as well. It means that your next turn after that, you gave up value on the turn that you played it, sure.
Heck yeah.
But the turn after, you're making it back up. Don't worry.
More and then some, right?
Yeah.
Echo Form has so many good targets in this deck already, and I'm to a certain extent I'm just providing color commentary while you pilot through this fight because I think it's solved. There's still some stuff to do. But like, look at all these targets. If we want to get a lot of focus down really quickly, we can double consume. It's also generated 2 energy there, which is really neat. Double charge battery is not only a 20 block if we upgrade it, but it's 2 extra energy the next turn, especially with potentially Pocket Watch afterwards is incredible. We showed in this fight that doubling genetic algorithm is going to be obscene block. It also levels up the card twice. So we've already got such good targets. Double darkness plus, double leveling things. Yeah.
I think I want to drop the ancient potion for this.
For chosen. But I think Pocket Watch makes us not worried.
Ooh.
So
I want buffer. Anytime I have Echo Form in the deck, like immediately I'm looking at buffer, but not only when I have that, but also when I have like reasonably consistent other ways to full block, because then it means that the only turns the buffers end up getting used are when the enemy is overwhelming.
My only concern with buffer here, and it was actually my gut reaction too, because buffer shuts down so many fights, is that this deck is already very good at blocking and like scaling with a lot of energy because of having 2 genetic algorithms across 20 cards with Pocket Watch. But I do think it will struggle to beat Tri-Slavers and Gremlin Leader right now. And Consume actually plays nicely with Electro because you're cycling them immediately. And so I think Electro might solve a real problem that we have, which is how to get a little bit more efficient at AoE fights. The darkness has made it to where we scale up really, really well against fights that give us a little time. Like this is the example of the deck that's going to destroy Maw and is perfectly capable of, with a couple more cards, of beating Giant Head, but just like dies to Gremlin Leader in this act.
Right, so this like capitalizes upon the things that we're already strong on, and this helps us, again, alongside things like Static Discharge, be a kind of sideboard for the things we need.
We don't want to do it, right? But we do have to somehow beat Gremlin Leader.
I like it. So the consideration for the Gambler's Ancient, or...
I like it. I think you're right. I was like, what about Chosen? But we're actually really good at that fight because of our card draw. And Gamblers plus Swift Pot is like, if you really want to win a fight.
Well, we do have the Eternal Feather and the meal ticket.
Yeah. I think it's the clear pick.
Yeah. I don't want to click it too quickly to hear like, yeah, but Sozu might like...
I know, and I do that all the time. Well, because Nuclear Battery is really good. I think when in doubt, Nuclear Battery, because the core argument against it is, sure, but then what if you evoke it? And the answer is, well, then you get 2 more energy. And in practice, usually, by the time you've done that, you're all the way set up. And actually, this is a great example of a deck that really benefits from Nuclear Battery, because you've got like a dual cast that you're getting too quickly to make it easier to play out big expensive card like Echo Form. But I think that having 4 energy every turn is going to be so much stronger for us.
Yeah.
And we have this sustain.
It's going to give us a lot more that we're capable of doing. We can even play up like some of the important cards like the Consume, which we constantly had to avoid previously. But we can play that and still trigger a Pocket Watch.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's huge.
Well, this is going to be a pretty interesting deck to pilot in the second act. Again, video link in the description down below. Hope to see you there.